Hi, hunters. Thank you for tuning into the Flush 'em and Dust 'em podcast brought to you by Nick and Tyler, the boys from Ringnecks and Retrievers. In this podcast, we will talk about guns, dogs, gear, and our successes and failures in the field through our combined 40 years of experience. We speak with hunters just like you from across the nation about their days in the field and the many memories they built with their friends and family. We are excited to have you listen. Now let's get to flushing and dusting.
Hunters, welcome back to another Flush 'em and Dust 'em episode. We're excited to have you guys here. Again, if you are looking for some dog safety products and especially first aid kits, water bottles, some other gear to take to the field, check out Gundog Outdoors at gundogoutdoors.com and use code RINGNECKS to save 10% on all of their products. We do appreciate that. And Nick and I have used their products multiple times in the field this year, and it's been very helpful.
Love them.
So tonight we do have special guests. We have Nick, another Nick on, not the regular Nick, also known as the Iowa Bird Chaser. We're excited to have him on tonight. He is on the mission to hit, dust, we should say, rooster in all 99 counties in Iowa. He just started it formally this year.
I gotta say that I'm a little jealous of your name.
Yeah.
I like it. Iowa Bird
Oh, I
Chaser.
bet you are.
Why did Ringnecks Retrievers is pretty catchy, but Iowa Bird Chaser, great name. How'd you come up with it?
Honestly, I was just talking with a few people on wanting to do this idea. And I was just thinking, obviously, I'm out there chasing birds, and it's in Iowa. I definitely wanted to showcase Iowa in my name, and we'll probably get into that a little later. But I'm out there chasing birds, and I've always been a big bird hunter. So I think that's kind of why the Bird Chaser came together, was just turkeys, pheasants, anything with wings we've been going after since I was a kid. Never was really a big deer hunter growing up. I do a little bit of that now, of course, but
yeah, we need to stop right there. You got to tell everyone. So anybody that can't see it, if you're looking at our YouTube, he has a nice cut right between his eyes. You got to give the listeners, tell them what you did. Speaking.
All right. So Friday I was out with my buddy Trent. We do some late muzzle loading deer hunter usually every year. It's just our time for the boys to get out away from his kids and get in the tent and bullshit like we are on here. And so we walk about a mile across this cornfield. It's about 12 inches of snow. We got a lot of snow here. So it was a pain getting in there. We sit down. There's a deer probably 40 yards behind the tent. Doesn't even know we're there. So we're like, oh, geez, here we go. 30 minutes later, deer meanders on in. My buddy hasn't gotten a deer yet this year, so he was ready to get lined up on one. I was just there kind of secondary helping out.
And it looks like you apparently haven't shot a gun all year.
Seriously. Oh man. So we get him lined up. He's kind of he's at a weird angle because he was basically looking out the back of the tent, and this deer ends up what would be in front of us. So he has to do a 180 while this thing's probably within 20 yards, and he's kind of leaning. Takes a shot. We think he hit it, but basically what ended up happening is it went down in a ditch that was right behind it and ended up coming out of the ditch. We were sitting there just watching this whole thing play out, thinking it was hit at this point, and he's like, no, it's walking away, take a shot. So I was basically kind of looking down over into my scope. I didn't have a straight shot. I wasn't lined up kind of back on the butt like I should have. I was kind of hunched over it. We're both in this little doghouse blind, and this thing's walking away, and I got down there real tight and just shot it. And right when I shot, you feel it right when you hit it, right when I shot. I'm like, and I hate to say, as embarrassing as it is, I like my channel. I try to always show the good, bad, and the ugly. I did this 3 years ago. The first time I ever shot a rifle with a scope. I did this to myself. Now, I will say this year, I got my scope kind of put on last minute. It's not positioned where I fully like it, but it is 100% my fault. I should have just paid better attention.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I got a GoPro video I'll put out, and I got blood just gushing down my face.
A few years ago, we went to the shooting range in Hiawatha when I lived up in Des Moines, and I went with my brother-in-law, who is an Apache helicopter pilot, so he has tons of experience shooting guns. And we're in that indoor range. You got to wear goggles and everything. And,
Yep.
we had guns with scopes on. We're shooting everything. All of a sudden, like after 10 minutes, I look at him and he's like keeps wiping his face. I go, "Are you bleeding?" He goes, "Yeah, I got a little close to my face." And I'm like, dude, you're like, you shoot guns like every day. Like you say, I know I practice them all the time too. I don't know what the hell happened. So I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
Happens to the best of us.
Oh,
Yep.
that's funny. No, that was funny when I saw that and you posted on your story. I was like, oh man, that had to hurt. It looked like it hurt.
Best
Well,
thing
luckily
is
your
you still
adrenaline's
got,
going, so
Yeah,
still,
true.
still got the deer.
yep.
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Well,
You know.
and so I will finish to say my buddy is a heck of a shot. He's a great shooter. And we ended up getting up to the deer, and I was the only one that had a bullet hole in it. So he missed it at 45 yards. It was walking away from him, but I got to give him a hard time about that.
Yeah. So Nick, give us a rundown of, why you decided to, your journey of completing all 99 counties in Iowa and kind of, how your year's been, and we'll just keep the conversation going from there.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of get started. Why I got started on this is I've lived in Iowa my whole life. And I moved away to Chicago for a few years when I was younger. I actually managed a band out there. We were on the band's Warped Tour in 2006. So something completely different than the upland world. But I was always a lifelong hunter and was very passionate about Iowa. So that kind of didn't pan out. And I came back home and I wanted to do something to showcase the state. I had been hunting pheasants my whole life. I've shot plenty of pheasants. I was ready. I'm at a point in my hunting career where I wanted more of a challenge and a way to take it to the next level, so to speak. And I also, for the first time in my life, got my own bird dog. We always had bird dogs growing up, but Dad always trained them. We had Brittany's and German short hairs, mainly German short hairs. And then 4 years ago, my dad got a Griffin. I really like it. Loved it, and fell in love with his dog. And a year later, I ended up with my own. So his dog is the uncle to mine. And so mine's 3, his is 4. And we've been out there just kind of rolling along. He hunts with me a lot of times, but not all the times. But kind of getting back into why I wanted to start the Iowa Bird Chaser and go in this direction is I feel like Iowa a lot of times gets the short end of the stick. And what I mean by that is years ago, if Iowa, some of the listeners know the history of Iowa, we rivaled South Dakota for bird numbers. And at one time, I believe we were higher than South Dakota for birds harvested. I mean, we're talking years ago, but there's still great hunting in Iowa to be had. We are one of the largest privately owned ground states in the nation. So that makes it very hard for hunters that are trying to hunt public land exclusively to find places to hunt. But luckily, like Onyx Maps and a few other resources, the Iowa DNR map, have been great tools for us hunters to find different resources. But I just really wanted to showcase the state and what we had and just kind of show people that, hey, we're not just this flyover state. We have beautiful country. If you've ever been up to the Decorah area, I mean, there's bluffs.
Can't beat it up there.
I'm from Guttenberg, Iowa.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
I mean, people think Iowa's flat. Iowa's not flat. Sorry, Nebraska, but you guys are a little flatter. And then you get over to like the Lust Hills area on the western side of the state. And I just saw that for the first time this summer with my wife. And wow, you want to talk about incredible and landscape I didn't even think, existed here in this state. And, I've seen the beautiful bluffs in northwest Iowa, but
we hunted over there right before our trip to South Dakota, not in the Less Hills, but we were right
just
right
north.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing what Iowa has to offer just from one side of the state to the other side of the state. It varies so much. And let's go back to your Griffin. So Nick and I, obviously, we hunt with labs and golden retrievers. Never hunted over a Griffin before. I've seen a lot more people. And maybe just because we're being more active.
And Tyler knows I've been obsessed with the Griffin for about the last 3 years now.
And my cousin, he's talked about it too, and it does seem like they're becoming a bit more popular. Can you, give us a rundown of, why you like the Griffin? Obviously, your dad had it first, but what drew you to liking that dog so much to get one of your own, and kind of like the little training process that you've gone through?
So from start, the dog's just personality. They're just super laid back. they got the beards and stuff, the male and females, or you see them sitting on the couch and sometimes or in the side of you look over and they're riding in the front seat with you. And it's like, I don't know, they just look like a human. They just have such these human like characteristics, but just they're great with kids, great with families. And I know a lot of dogs out there are driven to please you as the owner, but I mean, these dogs know how to manipulate is a great word to use it, because they'll give you the eyes and they know how to work your emotions. I just feel a lot more connected to a Griffin than I have with short hairs and things like that. And I love short hairs. I go back and forth. It's like, man, do I add a short hair back to the mix? We're thinking about getting another dog here in another year, or do we do another Griffin? And sometimes I wish the Griffin had a little more of that. I don't want to say energy, but with the Griffins, they're just a slower, more methodical hunter. So they really take their time. I've never grouse hunted. I would love to grouse hunt, but I've heard they would probably be a phenomenal grouse dog because they're just very slow. They take their time. They think.
Nick, you just talking about Griffins being a pleasing dog, and then and I haven't owned a Griffin. I haven't owned a German Shorthair. This is all just talk and speculation. But I talked with a trainer that I know very well and a mentor of mine for training dogs. And then talking about the German Shorthair, he had a good analogy for me for dogs like the Griffin and like the retrievers, the labs, and the Goldens. He said, one thing that I learned that he learned coming along and training so many labs, because that's what he primarily trained, and then hunting over a lot of German Shorthairs, is he said labs and obviously your Griffin is a dog that's, I would call a wee dog. So it wants to please you and everybody in the group. So it's we, where sometimes those higher energy dogs, and I'm not saying this is all, I'm going to get chapped ass from everybody for saying this, but GSPs and some of those other dogs are more of me dogs, and they don't necessarily want to listen to you as much because they're like, oh, I got to get this bird. And they're out there. And some people really like that hunting. But for me, I'm more of the growing up and listening to him and understanding what he means. I totally understand the me dog concept. My dog, when I give him a command, he wants to listen to me. He wants to please me. He wants to find that bird. He wants to bring it to me instead of just getting way the hell out there, not knowing where the fuck we're at,
Yeah, exactly. And I would 100% agree with that. And, that's the biggest thing is when I'm hunting, especially doing this is a journey with me and my dog. We're out there and I want this to be a partnership. I don't want that dog to have that greed and just be out there, chase. So it's been an awesome relationship building with this dog. She's only in her second true hunting season, so she's still learning a lot. She's a very young dog, but man, she's coming a long ways.
Nice.
So what did you originally do to get her to understand, like, hey, I want to get pheasants? Did you get pheasant scent? Did you get wings? Did you buy pheasants? What was your mentality getting her up to speed? And then secondly, she's points, correct?
Yeah, she's a pointing dog. So
yep.
First and foremost, we didn't grow up with any formal training. Dad kind of got our dogs to a point where if they found the birds and we shot it and it went down, that was all he wanted. And that was great. It was awesome. Got me involved in birds. But when I got my own, I wanted to take it to that next level. So for me, I got involved with Iowa NAVDA, the Illinois and Iowa eastern side of the state here, the NAVDA group, and I'm still involved with them. They helped me get that dog to where I needed to be, as far as a puppy go and what to start with. So what I started with was just dead birds and wings, like a lot of people do.
Yep.
And the biggest thing is I always kept it fun and always encouraged her, always end on a good note. I mean, I don't want to sound repetitive because a lot of people always say that kind of stuff, but that was the biggest thing, is just I didn't put any pressure on that dog for probably the first year. It was just all about every time we were around scent or birds or feathers or anything like that, we were just having a good time. And that kind of got it spiraling in the right direction. And of course with NAVDA, they really help you take it to that next level with tracking and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Nice. So how many counties have you guys covered this year?
So I have harvested in 7 counties. I've hunted in probably 12, I would say. I'm taking off 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. We're going to hit Cerro Gordo, Hancock, Winnebago, try to knock those 3 out here.
Dang.
Season's open until Sunday. So
that's right.
I got a few days off work. I have been busting my tail in Hancock.
You must have like 30 days PTO.
So I am self-employed. I have a home inspection business here locally with a partner. And so I am able to float my schedule around when I'd like to hunt. And of course, this year it does slow down a little bit for us. Spring
Yeah.
and summer, we're going balls to the wall. So I'm kind of lucky that it does slow down this time of year. But then, of course, between the holidays and being self-employed and having an awesome business partner that helps me out when I'm gone, I'm able to take advantage of that.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
So what?
Don't need a couple employees, do you? We're looking for some time off in the winter time.
No kidding. What 7 counties have you bagged the birds in?
So Lynn, Benton, Delaware, Tama, Webster, and Calhoun. I've missed birds in Pocahontas, Johnson, Keokuk, and one more right next to Pocahontas County. I can't remember off the top of my head. So
Nice.
4 or 5. I'm going to release some GoPro videos here later after the season ends, and I have some time to work on those. But for a big chunk of this season, I was hunting with an older Wingmaster 870 with a 30-inch barrel with a fixed full choke.
Dang,
so I mean,
that's a big barrel.
when you're hunting behind a pointing dog, you're shooting birds usually pretty close. So I was missing a lot early in the season just because of the gun that I had, and that's just my bird hunting gun. I didn't have anything else, but I have recently invested in a Franchi, however you pronounce it, Affinity 3 semi-auto that I really like. So I'm transitioning into that right now and hitting a little better with that.
That's good.
Nice.
Did you get a 12 gauge or a 20 gauge?
12 gauge on that 28-inch barrel.
Nice.
Yeah, we bought, and if you've ever listened to any of our podcasts, Tyler and I both bought Winchester SX4s 20 gauges with the 26.
Yeah, I've heard you guys talk about those.
And man, this thing shoots so nice. Like, it's so nice shooting. Neither one of us could hit shit with it. And I like to kind of brag and say I'm a pretty good shot. Like, I don't miss too often, but man, I went out to a field last year, and Diesel, he's not a true pointing lab. He's more like a flash pointing lab, but he'll point, hold it for 10, 15 seconds, and then he busts in, So
yeah.
when you see him do that, you hurry up and get up there. Well, he did that. Bird got up, 10 feet from me, missed it. Went another, 30 yards. He pointed again, got up 10, 15 feet, missed that one. Then went again, missed that one. Then I was like, basically, screw this gun, threw it in my truck, pulled out my 12 gauge because I brought that with. Then I went to a different field. He kicked up quail, and I shot three right there, right in the spot. Retrieved all 3 of them. I was like, I'm going home.
yeah. And on that good note,
I can hit this little bird with my 12 gauge, but this big bird with my 20, I couldn't even touch. So I don't know.
It's crazy. So what's been your biggest struggle that you've faced this year in the counties that you've touched, and then what's been your ways to success, I guess?
So my where I've struggled the most, I'll be honest, is just myself and between my 2 own ears. I was sitting down at dinner here recently with my wife, and we were just talking a little bit about my journey so far. And I was just talking to her kind of about how humbled, just some people following along. And I didn't think anybody would be interested in this. I just wanted to document it somewhere. And so it was archived. And I said, the biggest thing for me is just when you're going to all these different counties trying to figure it out, you've never been there before, you've never seen some of this habitat. I was putting so much pressure on myself to get working and off on the right foot on this goal. And she said, I've never seen you. I've worked very hard in different business assets and things that I've worked on throughout my life. And she's like, I've just never seen you so committed and so determined to do something. And she said, you've put so much pressure on yourself. And I just took a step back and started thinking. I was like, through a lot of the season, I put a lot of pressure on myself, a lot of pressure on my dog that just wasn't needed. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be me out there chasing this journey. But at the same time, 99 counties is a lot, and it's going to take some time. And
yep.
I just kept thinking, I got to, as the mindset has to be, you got to keep trudging along. But I'm thinking, man, I got to get 20 in this first year. Well, you got to reel it back in here realistically and say, between work and not working and trying to go into counties you've never even seen.
Yep.
Okay, maybe 10's a more realistic goal or things like that.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting that you brought that up on pushing and hunting. Tyler and I, God, was it yesterday? Maybe we literally were talking about how every weekend or every waking moment we feel like we need to get out, and it's been harder for me recently just because we had our second daughter, and my wife just had a C-section, so really trying to plan things and when I can
Yep.
get out, when I can do things. But it's almost like as a hunter, you only have that short span. And even if you don't feel like going, you should go because there's only this short span, right? So
Yep.
you almost kill yourself just trying to get out there and you run your dog to there. And I mean, my dog's fine now, had a broken toenail, but you just run them and push them. Yeah, and it's just kind of crazy, like that mindset that I think obviously it's not just Tyler and I, it's clearly all hunters, I think,
Yeah.
are dedicated to the upland game. Like, hey, we need to get out there, we need to push, we need to get these birds.
Yeah. When I wake up at 4 a.m. some days, yeah, it's not fun at all. But
No.
3 hours later, once you get out, your gun's loaded, and you hit that field, you've had that cup of coffee. Oh man, it's worth it.
Yeah. Have you tracked the miles, not walking miles? I'm sure you put on a shit ton of walking miles, but have you tracked the miles that you put on just driving? Because I'm sure you select a county and you're like, you look at the Onyx map or the DNR map and you're like, well, this public ground looks, I'm going to look at this one. And then you get there, you're like, it's not good, or there's other hunters there, so you got to drive somewhere else. Have you tracked the mileage that you've put on this year? Or could you, think of how many miles you've seen on the road?
I haven't tracked the miles. If I had to guess, probably close to, I don't know, 3,000. If I'd had to say, I mean, the one trip I went on where I hit Webster, Sac, and Calhoun County,
Oh, that's way out there.
that was about 1,000 right there on that whole trip, round trip between all that. And I'm out of the Cedar Rapids area, so it was about a 2.5 hour drive. And then I did get out there where I drove 45 minutes one way. Beautiful looking field. I had actually scouted that this summer when I was camping out that way. Two guys from Indiana were sitting there in the parking lot just getting out with their dogs. And I know some people say, well, why didn't you ask to join them? And I have a lot of respect for hunters that respect me when I'm in the field, and if I'm out there doing my thing, I don't want to kind of impose on other people, especially Indiana, Ohio. You're coming from far away.
Man,
I'm going to give you your space.
You're hitting on everything tonight.
Yes.
So, God, son of a bitch.
Well, maybe we'll need to do a part two.
Yeah. Story about me. Got back home from having the baby and whatnot, and so I had a week off there. My wife's mom came down. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go out hunting. Got to the spot 30 minutes early. No spot. Tyler and I actually hunted there. Saw birds. Haven't been back since. So I'm like, I'm gonna go check it out. Get up there. Nobody there. 5 minutes before shooting lights, a car pulls in 50 yards down into a different plot, and I'm thinking, what in the hell are you doing? So I immediately get out, put my vest on, get my dog out, and I have my gun loaded.
Yeah, you start hauling ass.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this is my field. I've been here, and I just think there's a hunter respect, or kind of like a hunter
etiquette
handbook. Yeah, you just know. Anyway, I start walking in, like I'm like, you know what? It shouldn't say this, but I was, a couple minutes early. I'm like, fuck it, I'm getting in there. So I walk in, so these guys don't get in there. And I'll be damned if they didn't follow me on the other side about 50 yards across from me all the way down. And I'm like, what in the hell? So then I go down, I circle, and actually we kicked up a ton of hens. And we came back around Diesel Point on a rooster, ended up getting that rooster. And I come back out, and these guys, Diesel's starting to work towards them, and he's scenting birds. I mean, there's a ton of birds in this field. I have to call him back. So we didn't run in these guys. Well, little behold, I look over, and these guys kick up like 3 birds right in front of them that I saw. And I was like, man. And I don't know if they were hens or not. They're pretty far out. But either way, didn't shoot. Walk up, and I get up there, and another guy's walking straight at me. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, have some appreciation for the people that are here and are early and not just showing up on a whim and just gonna, like, I was pissed. I was like, God.
And I don't know where that comes from. My dad, when we went hunting, he was very strict about gun muzzle control. You ask for permission. You never walk into private property without asking a farmer. And if they don't answer the door, you move on. Even if you've hunted there before, they didn't answer that door today, you move on. They don't know you're there. You don't own that ground. And the public side of it, I don't understand where it comes from. If they don't know another place to go. I've ran into that some places where I'm in a field it's pretty limited, but I've also ran into that here in Johnson County. There's thousands of public acres to pheasant hunt. And I've been that guy, just like you, Nick. You pull in 30 minutes early, 7:55, pickup truck pulls in, guy lets his dogs out, and he's coming in right behind you or at the opposite end. And you're thinking,
Well,
150 acres isn't that big when there's
Well,
two of you.
I'm not
and you're
even
gonna
sure-
spend 3 hours there.
I'm not even sure this guy would have looked like you and Tyler. He probably had a mark in the middle of his face and he missed birds.
Jeez.
He all they had was orange hats on. That's it. Black everywhere else. That's it. That's all they're wearing on top of them.
Yeah.
And he's driving a fucking BMW. I'm like, oh geez. Like
I had a lady
pull
walking on me.
in with that.
I had a lady walking on me this year, Johnson County. I think she's coming up, a yuppie from Iowa City, walking her dogs. I'm thinking there's dog parks for this.
Yeah.
And when she saw me coming, she grabbed her dogs quick. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not deer hunting and I'm not going to shoot your dog. I'm not that dumb. It's not flying, so I'm not going to shoot at it. But I'm just thinking, what are you doing coming out on public ground? I get we all own it and we all have access to it, but just be knowledgeable and be safe and make smart decisions is all.
And that's all I'm asking too. Like, you know, if you're there first, I'm gonna drive right on by. I'm not gonna hunt that field. I'm not gonna hunt.
Plenty of ground for all of us. And I used to be one of these guys that didn't think there was plenty of ground. And, you know, I never walked in on people and I'm thinking, man, I got my few private places I know, and that's all I can do. But through technology, that's evolved rapidly over the years.
So are you hunting mainly public or private, or you both?
So I'm 95% public. Now that I'm doing this, I've mainly, growing up, we hunted a lot around Tama, and it was just door knocking on old farmers' houses and finding a lot of ground. I will say that was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and a lot of that ground's been tilled up now, and they're farming fence row to fence row, which is unfortunate to see. But
that is a bummer. And I saw you post something today about how Iowa signed in the CRP.
Yeah, so for the next 30 days, Iowans can enroll into the new CRP program that has been approved.
Yeah, so hopefully that helps.
You can look into that.
What's that? I haven't seen anything about this. What's that consist of?
I believe I don't know how many acres it is, but basically they opened it up to farmers to enroll into CRP again. I know it was closed for a while, so it is a pretty competitive rate that they can get enrolled in. I don't know if it's for 5, 10, 15 years what the statute is on that, but man, it's a pretty good program.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully that helps bring some, stop the fence row to fence row farming and bring some of that, waterway, acres back that, people
growing
can
up, that's what we would hunt, those grassy waterways in the middle of cornfields, and they held a lot of birds.
A ton of birds.
And farmers have just tiled right over that and figured out they can make money off that little bit. And you would not, people look at that driving by and think, man, that little strip is nothing. Well, from the east side to the west side of the state, farmers start doing that. That's thousands and thousands of acres we're losing.
Yes.
It does add up to a lot of land.
Yeah, it's crazy. You hear the stories. My uncle told me a story when he was younger. So obviously many years ago, he didn't hunt with or didn't have a dog, and he'd walk out and he'd be able to step out his door. And he lived up in like Colesburg area, so northeast Iowa, and he'd be able to walk miles, just miles straight. Knew the farmers, had access, plenty of hunting ground, and he said it was just there was birds everywhere. He said he walked out of his house once, walked, I think he said 45 minutes, and shot 3 birds. Got into a field, 3 roosters popped up, 3 shots, back home, and just walked back home. And, he said that's how it used to be. There used to be that many birds, and just the way farming's changed, but like I said, hopefully this.
A lot of those machines now, they don't leave a kernel of corn on the ground.
And they're planting the rows so close together too. You can't even strategically walk it and hunt it. But I will say this year, traveling the state of Iowa and seeing different grounds, the United States Fish and Wildlife, the Iowa DNR, I have seen some incredible habitat this year. And I have walked into some fields this late season where I have seen 100 to 150 pheasants, but
awesome.
They're getting up 60 to 80 yards ahead of us because so many people have hunted that field.
Yep.
But I'm just sitting there, my jaw's dropping, and I'm like, this isn't stuff I've seen since I was a kid. And so it's just encouraging to see. And I know last year having a mild winter really helped our numbers, but man, I know the state and the DNR is working really, really hard to get us back on a competitive level with the pheasants.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's coming back quite a bit. Even from the fields that we've Well, we didn't have very good luck early on in the season in Iowa.
It was
Recent-
warm this year.
Yeah, but recently we've noticed a lot more of birds around as well, and
Yep.
we have a really good hunt coming up this weekend, so we're excited to share that with you once that gets over with.
And I would say 2009, 2010 is when Iowa probably hit its rock bottom for pheasant numbers. I mean, we were about wiped off the map.
Yeah.
And so for 2020, we've made leaps and bounds.
Yep.
Well,
So-
it amazes me that all the people that on Instagram that we follow and social media, God, I always feel like there ain't gonna be any birds left.
I
I'm
know.
glad I'm the only one that feels that way. Nick,
I'm like,
because
oh,
I went through
man.
a 3-week period where I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. You could hold a pheasant and I wouldn't be able to hit the darn thing. And you get on these Iowa Upland Hunting and all these other channels, and these guys are posting tailgates filled with birds. And it's like, for one, leave me one. I just want one for that county. That's all I need, one. And two, I'm just like, oh my gosh, where are you finding them?
You know, I think a lot of that, one, it's a lot of boasting. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of pheasant farms out there in Iowa, and I don't know that everybody's truthful. And, oh yeah, great hunt! Look at all the birds
and I
you
think
got.
there's a lot of past season pictures floating around.
Yeah,
I
I truly believe that. You see these guys every day, every week. Limit out today, limit it out again today, limit out again today. It's like we went
quick
to South
hour
Dakota.
hunt by my house.
Yeah, we went to South Dakota and we saw over 1,000 birds. Not even a joke. And
I believe it.
We basically limited out one day out there, and then we got a few birds, and we got a few birds in between here and there. But it wasn't. We were in the Mecca. We were seeing loads of birds, more than I've ever seen in Iowa, and we still weren't coming up with, limits for four-man limits or anything like that. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. My dad and I went to South Dakota last year, and we saw the birds absolutely everywhere. But we never got our limit in a day, and we were there later part of December, right before Christmas, so it had been beat up pretty good. But yeah, I don't think guys are doing that every day like they try to make it seem.
Yeah.
No.
So Nick, you said we got 5 days left of season, 6 days, something like that.
Yep.
So you're taking 3 days, you said, right? Next 3 days.
Definitely Wednesday, Thursday. We'll see what we get into up there. If it's looking good, I'll probably stay till Friday.
Yeah. So where are you heading again? I think we briefly touched on that.
Yeah, so Cerro Gordo, Hancock, and Winnebago County, so kind of up around the Forest City-ish area.
Yep.
Nice. Obviously, you see what's on the map on Onyx or the DNR map. Do you get up there, like super early one day and try to scout the areas, or do you just kind of, scout as you go? Or what's your game plan when you go to these places that you've never been?
Yeah, so a lot of times for me it's about just getting out there, and so I will do a little pre-scouting. I've learned a lot this year and want to do a lot of off-season scouting this summer and stuff, but I've always been a person that just kind of jumps up and goes. I just decided yesterday that I was going to take off and try to go hit these counties, and I just pulled the map up. First, what I did is I learned this in South Dakota last year because we made this mistake. We drove 2.5 hours to a different area, and we got there and it got hit by a snowstorm, and we should have stayed where we were. We would have got birds. And so I just Googled yesterday, what's the snowpack looking like in the state of Iowa? Where is there not a lot of snow? Because I was just down by Osceola this past Sunday doing some quail and pheasant hunting in Ringgold County, and the snow had such a thick crust on it, we couldn't walk any public ground. We were hunting all private, and we did great, but it was all private ground, so I didn't count that towards my journey. So I'm trying to get up to that area because it looks like snow isn't that deep, and it should be a little fluffier, so I can try to sneak up on them a little more.
Nice. Yeah. Speaking of the snow and the crunchiness, I went out on Saturday morning, and it sucks walking right now. We were down south of Keokuk, so I don't know, an hour and a half south of Cedar Rapids, I think. And that ice on top of the snow, man, you'd take one step and you'd not sink in, and then you take another step and
every fourth
go
step
up to your knees, But the worst part is one, the birds can hear you coming from a mile because it's just crunch, crunch, crunch. And what I noticed, and I don't know if you noticed it down there, but there were so many birds just out in the middle of open fields.
Oh,
And you couldn't get to
just
them.
in the middle of grain field, 120 yards out there, just scratching away, hanging out. Gobs, 10 to 15 of them in a bunch.
And then like the middle of the day at noon.
Yep.
Just
hanging
out there, and it's like, holy crap. And obviously I'd with that snowpack and the ice on top of it, they're probably starving, just trying to get through to the food. But, and we saw a ton of birds, but none of them were in the grass that we were at, which kind of sucks. So I'm
especially
hoping
with all the snow we got that, it seems like they're hitting those ditches and open green fields.
Yeah. So hopefully, Nick said we got a pretty good hunt lined up this weekend. So hopefully we can get on them and
go out with a bang.
We got so the spot, I won't give locations because people probably wouldn't be happy about that. But yeah, my sister's boyfriend, who I've been hunting with the last 3 years now, every time we go to the spot, and it's private ground and he has permission, but we see about 100 birds every time. First year we hunted it, we ended up him and I limited out 2-man limit in literally an hour, and back to the truck, like outshot him back to the truck, and we were done. And that's wild birds. Next year I think we got 5 off it, and I think we had 4 guys. So I mean, it's not a huge property, so once you kind of get into them, they start shooting, so you gotta get. So we got 5 off it, and and some of those birds will circle back in. We don't keep hunting it. We hunt it once and then we get out. We don't want to take every bird off there, like you said.
And keep it for another day. You got all season, and you have other opportunities. If if you're having a bad week or a couple weeks, you need some birds, get your spirits back up.
Yeah,
get in it.
Yes, we got that spot, and then we got I think 3 or 4 other spots that are all private. One's his buddy's friends, where that's basically what it is. They grow their grass and all the crops around it for the birds.
Awesome.
And actually, Tyler, we hunted there earlier this year. It was really thick, super windy. It was so windy. There's a ton of birds there, but the dogs couldn't track them down. It was like 40-mile-an-hour wind. It was terrible hunting conditions.
Yeah,
terrible hunting conditions.
Probably see the dogs. Honestly, I couldn't even see the dogs most of the time we were hunting. I mean, it was the grass super thick, hard to walk through. But there was birds flying everywhere. But like I said, it was so windy. They were just super flighty that day and gone with the wind, I guess you could say. It was crazy. Hopefully this snow should actually help us walk through it, because it'll have it packed down a little bit.
Yes, we have 5 guys going, and 5 dogs. 4 dogs, 5 dogs.
That'll be fun.
5 dogs. So
power.
Hopefully we'll have a lot of dog power, and hope as long as everybody's shooting straight, hopefully we have a bang up last day of the season.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to you guys posting about that. That should be a good time, especially to end out the rest of the year.
Yeah. So Nick, you said you're gonna start. Have you started a YouTube channel? Do you have videos out there already, or you're planning on doing some YouTube?
I guess just real quick, we got a little side railed. I just wanted to finish because you asked me how I scout ground once I get there. So I just wanted to, I definitely look by this time of year, I look to see if there's snow, but I do my first day up there. I'll try to get out and start looking at fields that I'll pin down 3 or 4, try to get out there between 7:45 and get to what I think is the best one. Now, in my mind, I already have what I think is the best one based on what I'm seeing on the map. I'm kind of weird. I really like looking at Google Maps bird's eye view. Like I'll watch a documentary about concentration camp, let's say, and then I'll get on Google Maps and just start looking at it and figuring out what different buildings are. And that's transitioned huge into hunting and finding things and learning what habitat looks like from an aerial view. But if somebody's there, then I'll have a plan B and C to move into the other fields and attack it that way.
Have you so if on your desktop, your laptop, or whatever, so Onyx Maps now has a 3D view. Have you played around with that at all? Like compared to Google Maps to Onyx, if someone was, going to compare both of them, which one may be better for seeing? Because what I've noticed on Onyx that I find hard is you look at a plot, but you can't tell what is the grass like.
Exactly.
Is it grass? Is it what is actually all there? It's hard to tell. But I used a 3D version a couple of times this year, and I don't know. I thought it was all right, but it still doesn't give you a great picture, and I've never thought of using Google Maps.
So I actually use Google Maps I use Google Maps for everything, and that's actually where all my pins is on Google Maps.
Oh, nice.
If I need to share a pin with friends, I will do that through Onyx, but I just use Onyx to mark where I've harvested animals.
Okay.
And that way I can just keep it separate. But I have found that the Google aerial view is just a lot better. And I don't know if that's because they have superior satellites compared to Onyx.
Yeah.
Google's obviously a huge company. But I found that Google works a lot better when you're trying to find that land. But Onyx is definitely where I start, and the Iowa DNR map to locate the places. And then what I do is Onyx makes it super easy to copy the longitude and latitude link over into Google Maps, and it brings you right into where you need to go. And then boom, I also have GPS to get to that land once I'm ready to hunt.
I don't know why we haven't thought of
trial and error.
Goodness, listeners, you need to take that note. That's actually a really good idea.
I'm not very tech savvy, so yeah.
Yeah, Nick's not.
And Google Maps is super easy. You just hold that once you find your location, you just hold down and it brings up a little dot, and then you just click label or save it, and you can mark it with a star or a little yellow thing or whatever you want. They have a couple options.
That's pretty
and
awesome.
That makes it super. So that makes it really easy for me, especially if there's a couple people at hunting places. I can just click that next label I have, and it's GPSing me to that next spot already.
Nice.
And I'm being very effective with my time, especially when you travel 600 miles.
Yeah. No kidding. That does make sense.
So now that you got this goal in your hands, are you planning to go to South Dakota or anywhere else? Or are you staying in Iowa now next year?
So I think I'm staying in Iowa, and I'm up to doing a little hosting. You know, if anybody wants to come to Iowa and check out bird hunting, I mean, I only got so much time, but you know, definitely, I'm always trying to pitch to Pheasants Forever.
You hosted a party for beer drinking prior the night before?
You know,
we're in for that.
You gotta come down here. We can talk We gotta come down here. We can talk some bird hunting. I'll tell Nick to come down.
The hotel gets boring after 5 once you've had dinner and the dogs have eaten and you're just waiting for the next morning.
Yeah.
Not with us, they don't get bored with us.
I like it.
So back to the YouTube. Do you got a YouTube channel started?
So I started a YouTube channel. There's nothing on it currently.
So it's not started.
What's it called?
Yeah,
so it's not started.
You're right. It's Iowa Bird. I just wanted to get the handle locked down before someone took it. So it's just Iowa Bird Chaser YouTube. I recorded a bunch of vest review videos earlier this year, and the audio was god awful. So I'm gonna remake those this off season because I have a Filson vest that I hunt with the Hunt Ready vest like you guys do.
Yeah.
I have a variety of vests, and a lot of that, and a ton of just other gear that I've spent and wasted money on because there's not a lot of good reviews out there, and you read it in a magazine. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, where's the honest review of a hunter walking the field using these tools, and are they good or they're bad?
Yeah.
Marketing's great, and marketing does wonders, and it's sold me a few times on some items, but I want to see the reviews after it's been, battle tested.
Yeah.
And that brings us, not to circle back and whatnot, but that's why we like Gun Dog Outdoors so much. They actually let us try their stuff, so we can give you an honest review. And Tyler and I are honest.
Awesome.
That's our whole thing. I am going to be honest to a fault. I don't care. You can think good, bad, the ugly. You can think what you want, but I'm going to tell you what I think.
Yeah, and their water bottles look really slick. I need to get my hands on one of those.
You need to. So they're coming out actually with orange covers instead of the tan.
Black. Okay.
So. Yep. If you wanted to wait till then, I don't know when they're
slick
launching
on the Hunt Ready vest.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Does that have the molly webbing on it? It looks like.
So it has buttons. They're actually buttons, and so that brings me to what's your thoughts on the Hunt Ready vest? You've had a year of wearing.
So I've had a season of wearing it, and I'll give you my honest review. I really like it. It fits super snug. I like that about it.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I had the Bird and Light vest, which I really, really enjoyed. There's nothing wrong with it. I was just ready to get something a little fancier. Yeah. I like to always see what's new. And so I really like it. But on my left side, I have the thinner, square, just zipper pouch.
Yep.
I don't know. It's maybe an inch wide. And one thing I loved, and I actually put in my original review that I had never posted, was that zipper was so stiff that I could whip it open and close. And I was like, this is awesome. Well, now that I've hunted a season with it, that thing is a pain to get closed, especially if you're trying to zip it forward. Because the fabric's all loose now. It's broken in. So that's kind of been annoying, but it wouldn't hold me back from buying the vest. And the other issue that I have, which I did reach out to the guys at Hunt Ready and talk to them about, and they are kind of looking into, is where the bird game bag comes up on the back. There's two little straps that you can adjust before the backpack loop. And those would just come when I would take the vest off and put it in my truck. I'd go to pick it up and throw it back on, and those would just come loose and become longer again.
Wow.
So he gave me a tip to kind of basically you can loop it through that stretchy tab holder thing they have. You can kind of loop it through there and hold it. And so that's worked great for me now. So those two things wouldn't stop me from buying the vest. I think it's a great vest. They don't sponsor me or anything like that. So I'm not giving them kudos for any reason. But I just met them at Pheasant Fest last year. I tried the vest on, and once they rolled it out, I was eager to get my hands on it, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've been using the Hunt Ready vest all year, and I like it. I like the way it fits. I haven't had any issues with it. But the thing so I have a law enforcement background. So like Molly to me was a huge thing. When I saw Molly was coming out, I was like, awesome. You can put different attachments on it. You can put them where you want. I was so happy to finally see that on a vest. But the Velcro Molly, I hate it. Absolutely hate it. I don't like how it's Velcro that you have, the tabs on where you hook it to the vest is Velcro. So I've only used Molly that has the buttons. So what I did recently is I actually purchased the Chief Upland vest because I was interested in it. Not going to use it. I just like the way the Hunt Ready vest fits better. But I took the attachments from the Chief Upland vest and put them on the Hunt Ready vest because I feel like his attachments are better built than the Hunt Ready ones.
Are they button as opposed to Velcro?
They're button. Yep. And I've hunted with it a few times. The buttons have never come undone. They have the pouches, which I really like. There's a waterproof like phone pouch that fits, the iPhone in it, or, whatever you have. And then there's also a smaller ammo pouch that's waterproof, and then like a larger one that you could use for an ammo pouch or use as whatever, but the flap on them is magnetic.
Oh,
so
nice.
it snaps shut.
Yeah.
It's a nice magnet. It doesn't come flapping open. And so I literally have it zipped up on the sides to where the flap completely covers it, but I can flip that flap up and reach my hand in real quick to grab more shells after I shoot.
That's slick.
So personally, I love the Hunt Ready vest, everything about the way it fits, but I hate the attachments, and I switched to the Chief Upland attachments for the Hunt Ready vest, and I like it that much more. So that's going to be.
I just use the regular old Tyson's vest. I haven't invested in anything yet this year.
Yeah. So
I like it, Nick.
I'm gonna email or talk to Hunt Ready and see what they have ever thought about doing the buttons instead of the Velcro. I don't know if
talk to Heath. He's great. He's super responsive over there. I will say I just switched my two water bottle. I have a big one and a small one, and I just switched what sides they're on.
Yeah.
And it took some time to get those Velcros off, but I will tell you, I can walk through anything and they're not going to fall off without strong those Velcros are. Holy smokes.
I mean, the Velcro's nice,
but it was kind of a pain.
I don't like trying to get it on or, stuff like that. And but yeah,
and this is my first product with Molly webbing. I'm not that familiar with it. I have seen the button stuff, but I'm not that knowledgeable with it.
Yeah, that's all I've ever used. So I was very surprised when I bought it and it wasn't.
Have you guys heard anything of the Orvis vest? I heard that the Orvis one's pretty good too. I mean, I don't know anything about it other than
out of all the vests that have come on the market, recently, I have not heard a lot about the Orvis, which is surprising, being a larger company.
Yeah,
you hear about the Wingworks and Q5 and all those guys, but
so what's season's coming to an end? Obviously, off season's coming for the Iowa Bird Chaser and all of us. What's your plans for the off season? How are you going to get geared up for next season? What can we expect? Obviously, we're following you on Instagram. We haven't said that. Everybody's still listening. Make sure you follow him on Instagram at Iowa Bird Chaser. What can, everybody wants to see the story. That's why they follow you. What can we expect in the off season to see from you? And how can we, what are we going to see getting geared up for next season?
So the biggest thing I think that I'll probably just try to showcase is, of course, we're always going to be training. I live in town. I'm in Cedar Rapids. So there's always the battles of how do you train a gun dog and have a bird dog when you live in a city.
Yep.
People aren't familiar with Cedar Rapids, we're about 150,000 people, so not terribly big, but a little larger. And, I don't have ground right out my back door that I can train. I do have some pigeons that I keep on hand that I can train with, that I take out to public ground.
Just keep those in your garage then, or
I got a little secret spot for them tucked aside to keep them warm. But so I think I'm just gonna be, showcasing a lot of, kind of the off-season training. Of course, there's not gonna be happening in the next few months when it's slow, but try to keep things going with the YouTube. That's why I have been waiting to release some of my YouTube videos. Is I just wanted to give some content to people once the off-season came. Everybody posts stuff, a week after they hunt or those kind of things. So,
what are your thoughts on? So season ends January 10th. Preserves or pheasant farms, whatever you want to call them, don't close till March 30th or 31st, whatever it is. Do you ever do that with your dog, just to keep yourself sharp and keep your dog sharp?
That's a great question, Nick. I'm glad you brought that up. I will give a shameless little plug to Legacy Acres over by Williamsburg. I am a member there, have been a member there for quite some time. They used to be Safari, Iowa. Kurt Ritchie does a phenomenal job over there. Austin Blythe, they have bought it and they've put up a new lodge this year that is phenomenal. If you have not been over to Legacy Acres, you need to get over there. One, for a hunt. They got some great land, and two, they put up a lodge, and inside of this lodge is a taxidermy collection from one of the guys that started Guns and Ammo magazine. He was, if I recall the story right, he was friends with Austin's grandfather, and when he died, the kids didn't want the taxidermy, so they purchased it, and they've put this taxidermy in this lodge. We're talking water buffalo, cheetah, giraffes, porcupine. It is a lifetime and thousands of dollars worth of hunting. All of this. There's probably 45, 50 taxidermied animals. And it is a sight to see. And then they put on a great, they'll cook for you and do the whole shebang. So I do that. We do that in the preseason to get geared up. On summer, we do a lot of pigeon work. And then postseason, you will see me and my dad out there doing some game farm hunting, just keeping the dogs sharp and extending the season. I mean, like you guys, we all love bird hunting, and it's sad when it comes to an end January 10th, and this is the way we can go to March 31st.
Yep.
Yeah, we go to a place usually down here by Des Moines that we really like. It's called Worth Woods Hunting Preserve.
Okay.
It's a small business. Mm-hmm. Not many people know about it.
It's not by Prairiesburg, is it?
North of it, by Ames.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. By Ames, past Ames, Story City.
Okay.
So he and his family and his daughter and him basically do all the work. So not a lot of people know about it. I mean, they do have a website and stuff, but you wouldn't know about it unless you searched this online. So we really like supporting him and going there, and fair price on birds. Usually we get I think 5 birds for $100. And his birds fly well. They fly very well. And then this off season, I have a good relationship with him. I used to guide for him actually with Diesel. And then he will let us come out and buy quail this off season, and we'll be able to we have to plant them ourselves and all that stuff ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll be able to do that on his land.
I've done a little bit of that Legacy. That's nice.
Worth Woods Hunting Preserve. Nice. Check it out. Maybe we'll have to all grab a hunt sometime when it works.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So, well, Nick, we appreciate you having you on, and you coming on and talking about your journey to the 99 counties. Obviously, I think you're doing a great job. There's a lot of battles that you have to face to, get birds in all the counties and the bird numbers, and just there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Probably had to follow concussion protocol after that deer shooting.
Yeah, when you got to sit out for days, I mean, that's crazy losing birds.
Yeah. So we applaud you on that for taking the journey. We're excited to keep following you and see how you finish out this year and how next year goes. But again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, keep in touch, man. We'll
absolutely.
We'll do this again.
I appreciate you guys, following along and, all the nice words and everything. Honestly, when I started this last year, I had no idea where this was going to go. I was talking to Anthony with Fetching Feathers up at Pheasant Fest and was telling him about it. He's like, well, you're going to document it, right? And I'm like, no, not really. I mean, other than taking a picture in the parking lot for my own record. And he's like, no, people are going to be interested in this story. Like, I want to be a part of this story. Like, this is getting me fired up.
Yeah, I mean, we love Anthony. We had him on a podcast. I don't know if you listened to it.
I listened to that one. That was good. And his 10 species, that's what kind of gave me the idea of this 99 counties. And other people are going after the 99 birds in Iowa. I am aware of, but I think they're shooting turkey, quail, pheasant, whatever. I'm trying to just do a pheasant in each county. But anyways, I'm humbled. Couldn't believe I'm on a podcast. I didn't think anybody'd ever asked, but it's just been an awesome journey so far. I appreciate all the support. Definitely check out Ringnecks and Retrievers, and of course the Flushman and Dustin podcast. You guys have some great content on here, and their Instagram, the Ringnecks and Retrievers is great as well. So,
hey man, keep up your positive energy too. That's fun to watch. It's a fun thing to watch, and keeps us interested. So keep that up. Don't ever lose that.
I appreciate that, and hopefully that's something that you guys can really see a lot more of in my YouTube videos. When I'm hunting in groups, I'm not out there hooting and hollering, yelling, but when I'm by myself and I get these birds, you'll see on my Instagram story, if you follow me on Instagram, a lot of times on my story posts on there, I'm getting on there within 30 seconds to 60 seconds of harvesting that bird. So you're getting live. My heart's just, pounding out of my chest. And sometimes I regret what I do on there, and other times it's great. But that's my journey. Is I don't ever want to become this channel where, we're out there just posting content to post content. This is my journey, and follow along whether you like it or not. This is what you're getting. So check out the YouTube channel. I'm going to get that rolling here in the next couple of weeks. Iowa Bird Chaser, and of course the Instagram Iowa Bird Chaser. And I'll respond to anybody that reaches out. If anyone has questions or needs anything, just let me know.
Awesome. Hey man, take care, Nick. We appreciate it. Iowa Bird Chaser. Love the name.
Appreciate
man.
you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night. Take care.
Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your season.